Hey everybody, it's Global Expansion Team member Matt Grimm here, and I wanted to walk through a very, very important part of starting every single month. We hear on the calls about mapping out our month and seeing what that really is, and I just want to go ahead and show you right here on our whiteboard an example of what mapping out the month is and what you need to be doing basically the last day of the month, looking ahead to the next month, or the very first day of the Herbalife month to make sure that you're going to be on track for your goals with where you want to go, for moving up the marketing plan, for hitting different promotions, all the different things. We're going to map out your organization and also our personal volume so we know what our goals need to be and we can keep track as we go throughout the month if we're on track or off track. Okay? So the first thing that you see on the board, we actually have our month written out. This example is for July 2011. Whichever month that you're watching this, absolutely no problem. Just write that month down so you know what to keep track of and where you're at. Of course, it's Amanda and Matt, that's our business, and this is just going to be an example of what we do here. And again, we're going to write out our map for the month. So what you want to do is, on a sheet of paper, and again I'm using a whiteboard for example, if you want to keep a whiteboard within your office, that's great. As your organization grows, you're going to need a pretty big whiteboard, okay? But I write it out actually on paper so I can see it, and then what I do is I actually send it up to my coaches. So I definitely encourage you to do that too. That way somebody has the opportunity to keep you accountable and sees what your plan is. So let's go ahead and walk through this. So what you want to do is log on to myherbalife.com. If you subscribers to BizWorks can actually see their whole team. If you just write down who all your first line supervisors are. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And we're just going to put a few of them on here, just for an example. Okay, so you got all of your supervisors here. And then go ahead and write their names in. And then what you want to do is take a look at their history. What have they been doing? What kind of volumes have they been doing? And what are their goals as they stretch to do this? And you're going to teach your distributors to do this exact same thing, so you can actually use their maps to plug into your map to know where you're at. Okay. So this distributor usually does 200 to 500 points. Okay. And that's just an average of what they do. That way you get to put that in your numbers, and I'll show you what that means here in a while. Okay. Now this distributor, 2,500, they hit their retail plan, but they've also got a bit of a recruiting plan going on. So they're 2,500 to 5,000 volume points a month. Okay, and if you can't see the numbers, just follow along with what I'm saying, and I'll write it all out here in just a second. Okay. Same thing with this distributor, 2,500 consistently, and they're doing 5,000 if all goes well. They sponsor a supervisor that month, maybe even more. All right. This is another supervisor. They actually ate their way to get into supervisor, and 250 to 500 is a very good average for them. If they're a family that goes ahead and does that. And then we've also got this last supervisor. They actually came in and again ate their way over 12 months to get into supervisor, and they're still working on that, still consistent on the products, but they only do about 150 to 300 points a month. Okay. And then, after you've got all your first line supervisors written out, okay, you actually go to your second line. And typically people that are in action, they may have a couple of people here on their second line, and maybe this person's just getting started and they've only got one. Okay? And again, you write out what they do. Wherever they are in your business, you just write down what their history of volume is. Okay? So again, this person may be a 100 to 300. They got their first supervisor just last month, and they're getting started. Okay. This guy right here is actually got a great recruiting plan going on, a history of doing $5,000 to $10,000 in business every month. Okay. Whatever that is, you write it down. Then we've got another one here. Sorry, I made these boxes kind of small. We'll make them a little bit bigger here. 100 to 500. The range is kind of, they're up and down in terms of volume, in terms of getting customers, but consistent with their personal use. And this distributor is, let's say, 200 to 400. And again, you write down, if they have supervisors underneath them, you write those down. Anybody else that does, but for this example, this is just what I'm going to use here. And then you actually go ahead and add everything up. All right. So you have your 200 plus your 2,500. You use the low numbers first. Add all those up. So, for your on the first line, 200 plus 2,500 plus 2,500 plus 250 plus 150. Okay, so that's 5,600 in business. All right, so that would be the first line. That's the low number, and then go ahead and put a line under that, and then do the high number. Get 10,000 for these two. Between these two, they're 500, and they're 511,000 and 300. Okay, and that's if everything goes as planned, as expected, and this number is the minimum that they typically do. Okay, and then you do the same thing for that second line. Okay, that's 5,400 and 10,000, actually 11,200. Okay, and then you just add the entire organization up. So I do that right here. I do, the low, and then the high. Add the whole total up. So this would be 11,000 for the low, and 22,500 for the high. Then I go ahead and add them up and split the difference and get that average, which you can see, right in here is going to be about 16,000. Okay, and I just kind of round that a little bit. So now you see you've got your high, your average, and your low for the month. So if this is your map and everything goes as planned, this is a Cutter Global Expansion team. Okay, very, very important, because when you do that, over 20,000 3 months in a row in your organization, in 3 levels deep, so there could be more people here, and there could be more supervisors on your first line. That's why we want to continue to recruit front line, recruit front line, recruit front line, teach people how to get to 50%, because royalties are absolutely king. Okay, and this organizational volume determines our royalties, our supervisors. All right, and the next thing that I do is I actually look back at my personal history, and I get my personally purchase volume, and I know for Amanda and I is about $6,000 in business every single month. Okay, and I take my current wholesale, and then my new IBPs. Okay, my personal goal every single month with new IBPs is $6,000 to $8,000 in business. That's 1 to 2 supervisors every single month included, plus some additional income there. So I put in, I'm going to actually put in 6,000 here, but 6 to 8 is the goal. 8 is 2 supervisors. And you'll just see, I'm actually just doing this for easy math, so I don't have to grab the calculator, but no problem at all, right? And then the wholesale, take a look at what your typical wholesale has been. You can get a list out of all the distributor volume that you've got there in BizWorks, and it shows every single distributor, their 12-month history, and look at that and see what they typically do. And then most importantly, as you're going through that, use the marketing plan, okay? If you've got somebody who's at 4,000 volume points over the course of a month, over the course of 4 or 5 months, all they need to do is another 1,000 volume points this month to get to 50. Make a note of that and tell them about that and work with them to get there. If it's somebody in their second month and say they did 900 points 2 months in a row, they're 1,800. All they need is another 700 volume points to get to qualified producer. Let them know about that and make a note as you write down your current wholesale. Okay, and that number is going to vary depending on how long you've been in the business, how many wholesale customers that you've got, how much you go after the wholesale distributors and get people on a discount buying program for those wholesale customers. People, when you're working up the marketing plan, maybe they're going to go qualified producer and then 2 months later supervisor, whatever that might be, as long as they've got a plan, but they're currently your wholesale business until they're at 50%. So I actually list out all 3 of them. My personal volume, my wholesale volume, which for Amanda and I is about 4,000 typically in a given month. That's a rolling number, and you'll see a total of $10,000 in business almost every single month that Amanda and I do that is not under our ID number. That's under wholesale ID numbers and new distributors coming in not yet at 50%. Okay, so then our personal goal would be $16,000 dollars in business that particular month. So now I've got my personal goal, and then I've got my organizational goal right here. And then I actually take this number and I send a picture of this map. I do a copy of it and send it off to my coaches. And I definitely suggest you do the same thing, because that's going to let your coaches know you're serious, because you're putting your map out there and that you're going to go make that happen. It's amazing when we write down these things on paper. When you put your plan on paper, it almost always happens, because you get a target to go for and you're going to go get it. 95% of the time I've written out our map, and our month has come in literally within a couple of 100 points of this number, and within this number, our personal volume and our organizational volume. So make sure that you've got that map written out, so you're on your path to success every single month. And then send that off to your coach, so there's some sort of accountability that you've got in there, because it's very important to be able to have that accountability and to let your coaches know you're on the road, moving up the marketing plan, getting more supervisors, adding more squares every single month to your map, so you can get to your ultimate goals, whether it's financial freedom, career level type income. You're on your road to get that through this map here. So I hope this was really helpful. I know for me, this has been a big key to Amanda and I's business. I definitely wish you all the best as you go through that. If you have any questions, you can get with your coach and make sure that you're mapping everything out the way that you need to be. Can't wait to hear you on the next call. Have a great day, everybody.